A manila envelope landed on Chief Garrett Lawson's desk, its contents spilling across the polished wood: surveillance photos, family schedules, and a list that would make any parent's heart stop. At the top of that list was Deputy Logan Mercer's 11-year-old daughter, Lila. The Black Vultures had spent months plotting their revenge against the West Ridge Sheriff's Department, but they had overlooked something crucial. They never investigated why Deputy Mercer had adopted a retired military K-9 with 3 combat tours overseas. That oversight would cost them everything. What began as a calculated attempt to terrorize a young girl at her bus stop would spiral into something much larger. When 3 matte black pickup trucks surrounded Lila Mercer that autumn morning, they weren't just confronting a schoolgirl. They were about to face a German shepherd named Titan, whose military training would expose a network of corruption stretching from Arizona to Nevada. The events that followed would lead to dozens of arrests, dismantle a sophisticated outlaw operation, and prove that sometimes the strongest defense against evil comes with 4 legs and unwavering loyalty. The morning started like any other in West Ridge. Lila Mercer sat at her kitchen table, spreading jam on her toast, while Titan lay at her feet, his ears perking up at every sound from the street outside. "You're extra alert today, buddy," Lila said, slipping him a piece of bacon under the table. Titan's tail thumped against the floor, but his eyes never left the window. Deputy Logan Mercer looked up from his case files, dark circles under his eyes, betraying another sleepless night. "Straight to the bus stop, Lila, and stay with Titan." "Dad, you've only told me that like 1,000,000 times." Lila rolled her eyes, but there was no real annoyance in her voice. She knew why her father worried. 3 families had moved away from their neighborhood after receiving threatening letters from the Black Vultures. Claire Mercer, still in her nurse's scrubs from the night shift, kissed her daughter's forehead. 1,000,001 can't hurt. These days, we can't be too careful. Outside, the Arizona sun was just beginning to burn away the morning fog. Lila adjusted her backpack, its blue straps decorated with pins from her favorite bands. Titan fell into step beside her, his military training evident in the way he continuously scanned their surroundings. 2 blocks from home, her best friend, Abby Monroe, joined them. "Your dog's acting weird today," Abby observed, as Titan positioned himself between the girls and a slowly passing car. "He gets like this sometimes," Lila explained. "Dad says it's his military training. He can sense things we can't." At the corner store, Mr. Dawson was setting up his morning display. The former Marine always had a treat for Titan, but today the German shepherd ignored the offered biscuit, his attention fixed on a black pickup truck parked across the street. "Morning, girls." Dawson's voice carried an undercurrent of concern. He'd been in West Ridge long enough to read the signs. "Stay safe today." The bus stop was 3 houses down. Normally a 2-minute walk, but today Titan made them stop twice, using his body to guide them behind parked cars. To anyone else, it might have seemed paranoid, but Lila had grown up learning to trust the dog's instincts. "What's wrong, boy?" she whispered, running her hand through his fur. Titan's muscles were tense under her fingers. The sound of engines drew their attention. 3 black pickups approached from different directions, their tinted windows concealing the occupants. Titan's posture changed subtly, a shift that would have been imperceptible to most, but spoke volumes to those who understood military canine behavior. Abby clutched Lila's arm. "Maybe we should go back to the store." Before they could move, the first truck stopped. The door opened, and a man in an expensive suit stepped out, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Lila Mercer." His voice was smooth, practiced. "Your father and I need to have a conversation." Titan didn't growl. He didn't bare his teeth. Instead, he shifted his weight, a precise repositioning that placed him at the optimal angle to respond to any threat. "My dad says I shouldn't talk to strangers." Lila managed to keep her voice steady, remembering her father's lessons. "Oh, but we're not strangers." The man, Jeremiah Crow, though Lila didn't know his name yet, took another step forward. "Your father has been causing my organization some problems. Perhaps it's time he learned about consequences." 2 more car doors opened. Abby took a step back, but Lila stood her ground, one hand buried in Titan's fur. The German shepherd's training had taught him to recognize threat patterns, to assess situations before reacting. Every movement, every micro-expression was being processed through years of combat experience. "I'd suggest you think very carefully about your next move," a new voice called out. Mr. Dawson stood at the corner, his phone visible in his raised hand. "The police are already on their way." Jeremiah's smile tightened. "This isn't over, little girl. Tell your father." Titan moved. It wasn't an attack, but a precise shift in position that placed him squarely between the men and the girls. His training had taught him that sometimes the most effective defense was a clear demonstration of capability rather than immediate action. The sound of approaching sirens cut through the morning air. The men retreated to their vehicles, but not before Jeremiah locked eyes with Lila one last time. "We'll be seeing you again." As the trucks pulled away, Deputy Reed Carson's patrol car rounded the corner, followed by 2 more police vehicles. Titan maintained his protective stance until the last black pickup disappeared from view. Dawson jogged over, his Marine training evident in the way he quickly assessed the scene. "You girls okay?" Lila nodded, her hand still buried in Titan's fur. The German Shepherd's muscles were still tense, his training telling him the threat wasn't fully past. Carson was already on his radio, calling in descriptions and partial plate numbers. But Lila wasn't paying attention to any of that. She was watching Titan, whose alert posture told her more than any police radio ever could. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The West Ridge Sheriff's Department buzzed with controlled chaos. Deputy Logan Mercer burst through the doors, his face etched with a mixture of rage and fear. Titan sat beside Lila in Chief Lawson's office, his posture still alert despite the secure surroundings. "Are you okay?" Logan knelt before his daughter, checking her for any signs of harm. "Did they touch you?" "I'm fine, Dad," Lila's voice caught. Titan knew something was wrong before they even showed up. Chief Lawson stood at his window, watching the parking lot where several unmarked police vehicles were arriving. "Carson got 3 partial plates. We're running them now." Sergeant Casey Blake, head of the K9 unit, entered the office, her badge catching the morning light. She'd trained hundreds of military dogs before joining the department, and her eyes immediately went to Titan. "Tell me exactly what he did," Blake said, pulling up a chair across from Lila. "He kept stopping us, making us wait behind cars. Then when that man stepped out," Lila's hand found Titan's fur again. "Titan didn't growl or anything. He just moved." Blake nodded, a knowing look crossing her face. "Threat containment positioning. That's advanced training, usually reserved for dogs serving with Special Forces units." Lawson's phone buzzed. His expression darkened as he read the message. Carson just found something at the corner of Main and Birch. Surveillance photos, not just of Lila, of every officer's family in the department. Blake's hand moved instinctively to her sidearm. "They're escalating." Lila buried her face in Titan's fur. The German Shepherd remained steady, his military training allowing him to both comfort the girl and maintain his vigilant watch. "We'll be okay, right?" she whispered. Titan's response was a subtle shift, positioning himself to better view both the door and the window, a silent promise that no harm would come to his charge, not while he stood watch. But outside, the town of West Ridge was holding its breath. The streetlights flickered as dusk fell, casting long shadows across the station's parking lot. Across town, a black truck idled just beyond the reach of a security camera. Inside, Jeremiah sat in the driver's seat, his fingers drumming against the wheel, his expression unreadable. "They're watching us," one of the men in the passenger seat muttered. Jeremiah smiled, slow and deliberate. "Let them. This is just the beginning." As he spoke, his gaze flickered to the rearview mirror. Reflected in the glass was a single photograph pinned to the dashboard, a picture of Lila and Titan, taken from a distance. Titan was right. This wasn't over, and the war had only just begun.